where we bring together students together with their faculty advisors, and we link them with the industry and the rest of academia to identify some challenges that they are facing in their communities, and then forging strategies, which may be technological, mechanical, and all that, in order to solve the challenges that are facing their respective communities. It is a global program. The students who do well are linked to industry in order to incubate the ideas that they are having, and then they also go to compete with other universities with the same program abroad. I think this year we had Jaramogi University, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University, which did very well and went to San Jose in the United States to compete with the other universities that are having a similar program. We have the IREN growth pad, where we provide some linkage. You will hear something about that in the course of this afternoon. A linkage between, I think, taskmasters and then people who need services. It's a mobile platform. Then, of course, we also believe in renewable energy. I think the world is going in renewable energy, and we are at least developing some strategies on how at least to measure in this sector here. And of course, we cannot forget our culture. So we have what we call the IREN Bukura Trade and Culture Fair, where we invite people in the Lake Region Economic Bloc at least to come and showcase their culture and showcase their economic activities, and also do marketing and sales. So we also practice consultancy on multidisciplinary issues. Now, in this forum here, we can see this gentleman here. I don't know, what is he holding? A spear, eh? Not a stick. It depends on where we are. This is a Maasai man. I think Maasais are across Kenya, Tanzania. Do we have Maasais in Uganda? No Maasais in Uganda. Okay, I think they are known for using spears, and we are told when colonization happened in this country here, it was very difficult for the colonizers to penetrate their region because of their warlike attitude and the use of these spears. So this gentleman is holding a spear, and Maasais and some East African communities have used the spear for a very long time in order to do hunting, in order to do fighting, and all that. And maybe if we could just go to the next one. We have somebody in South Africa who was known as Shaka Zulu. This gentleman saw that the spear that the Maasai man was holding, once he had thrown that spear and released it, you see, he was now vulnerable to attack because the spear was already out of the hand. So this gentleman introduced what we call the assegai, or a short stabbing spear. So he had the long one and modified the long one, another one to be a short one, that he will still maintain and use it for stabbing the enemy. And we know we know what he did in South Africa. I'm told some of the Bantus in Kenya here, actually they settled here because they ran away from the terror of that gentleman who was using the short stabbing spear. So we have people who are still fixated in the throwing, in that spear that you can throw away. But we have some guys like this gentleman who decided to be a bit innovative and bring about the short stabbing spear. But then this did not last long. Maybe if we could go just to the next one, because in 850 AD, we have some Chinese alchemists who are tinkering, in their laboratories of that time with what we call potassium nitrate. I think by accident, one person at least put some sulfur in that, and then there was an explosion, and the whole room caught fire. But that was the aha moment for that gentleman, because the invention of gunpowder now came into place. So the Chinese used gunpowders. They had even what we call flaming arrows that were powered by gunpowder. And if you read their history, that's how they conquered some guys who are called the Mongols and all that. But in the 13th century, their technology now went to the European countries. And the European countries now invented what we call the gun. And that became a game changer. Maybe if we could go to the other one. You see, this is Kenya. And these are guys who are called the Mau Maus. And we have this guy here. At least we have just one gentleman with a gun, but you can see what he's doing to the other gentleman. What is happening to them? These guys are surrendering using the power of one gun with gunpowder. So gunpowder changed the course of everything. And now the guys who are using spears, even in Tanzania we had Kinjeketile, I think, with Kinjeketile with the spear, saying that the thing that will come from this gentleman will just be water, and you know what happened to them. In Uganda we had Alice Lakwena, who also said whatever comes from this will just change into water, and you know what happened. Gunpowder became the game changer. So the question is, shall we continue with our long spear? Shall we continue with our short stabbing spear when at least the game is changing? You know this gentleman very well. He was in this country and contributed to congesting some of our rooms until we are here now. What is his name? Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. This is what he said recently. And he was giving an example of Uganda. He says, take Uganda as example. The first white man will come in 1862. This was he was talking about this in February 2019. This was 364 years after Vasco da Gama had made the voyage past Africa. And yet, they found us still unprepared and conquering us with ease. What are we doing in our informal industry? What are we doing in the informal sector? Are we still using the long spear? Are we still using the short stabbing spear? And when the game is changing, the world is changing, are we still stuck on our spears? Museveni says, if we continue doing that, we shall still be unprepared. And if we are unprepared, we shall be conquered with ease. So, and that is why we have this forum here. This forum here shall look at the spears that we have been having. Why are we still using those spears? This forum shall look at how can we leverage on emerging technologies in order to at least bring a game changer in the spears that we are using in Africa at the moment. This forum shall look at, are we also able to adopt some technologies that can make us to be game changers the way other people are game changers. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity just to welcome Mr. James Shikwati, who is the founder director of IREN. He will pick up from that point. Thank you very much.
Digitalization offers us an opportunity to unlock the dormant capital that we have in the informal sector. Because we know that the informal sector carries a lot of transactions, a lot of money, and as we'll be sharing in the afternoon, the figures that we've come across, we know if we create a possibility to connect the informal sector to digital platforms, we're going to unlock dormant capital that is going to catalyze the development of the region. The second aspect is we see digitalization as a platform that will enable us to denationalize. Remember, we are here as East Africans, and one of the biggest challenge has been politically, how do we really implement what we've written down in the East Africa Constitution to be one region? We know we say it as politicians, but in reality, it's difficult to say we are one. If you are in Tanzania, you know the challenge. If you are in Kenya, you know the challenge. The same Uganda and Rwanda. All these are East African members, but with challenges. So we see digitalization as a possible platform that can enable us realize the East African dream of working together as one. And of course, we'll be expecting our panelists to give us some more details of what is digitalization in terms of definitions. So I might not have to go through this particular aspect. But the challenge I like just to point out on this aspect of digitalization, that in this region, when we talk about digitalization, we seem to assume that it's about mobile phones. So everybody, when we hear digitalization, we think mobile phone. But digitalization, we know, goes beyond the communication sphere of mobile phone. And that's part of the conversation I'm looking forward to in this forum, where we shall start modernizing how we view digitalization to go to aspects of, let me just mention a little bit of this. Number one, to look at the possibility of cloud computing, keeping data in the cloud. People think it's actually in the cloud. No, it's not in the cloud. But again, I hope our experts will be discussing, will take us through these motions. Machine learning. So if we are in the informal sector, Juakali sector, how relevant is this machine learning to us, and automation, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and big data? Because we know, as already Juma pointed out with the analogy of the short and long spear, that the big companies are investing in these aspects. And so if we are in the informal sector, what does it mean for us, for our future? Are we going to be left behind the way the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, points out that 300 years, but still Africans were not prepared? So we see, and this is at least from the IREN perspective, that the starting point for the informal sector, as far as digitalization is concerned, is to look at how we can harness data or information to inform our decision making, to inform our strategy, to inform how we navigate the market. Remember, I already pointed out that the informal sector is as agile as water, very flexible in comparison to big companies. But big companies have the advantage of gathering big data or information and project for the market in future. But how can we bring this down also to the informal sector so that we can be able to navigate? How can we be able to make use of digitalization so that we can have what we call transactional integrity? Because you want the market to trust you. How do we keep record to show that this particular person in the informal sector is trustworthy person that we can do business with, that we can be able to have traceability, that we can be able to align to global markets? And then how can we use this to ensure that we also have the informal sector access the necessary skills? Because, there's going to university, there's going to college, but also digitalization offers you the possibility to access some of this knowledge even before you knock the door of a university or a college or a polytechnic. In summary, because I didn't want to read the entire presentation, in summary, what the digitalization is simply doing, it's telling us that the world is now divided into two. Number one, what you call the old system, and number two, what you call the new system. In the old system, people own things and keep them, meaning that unless you talk to the owner, you don't get it. That's the old system. Even capital, even in our politics, for those who come from Kenya, we have even the saying of old money and new money, right? Old money, mostly the guys who got capital at independence. Even here in Nairobi, if you want to buy a plot, 1 billion shillings, old money. But new money means you can own a plot without owning it, virtually. Meaning you can actually own this hotel without owning it. And one way of doing it, you can start an app where if people want to come to this hotel, they apply through your app and you put your markup. And you come and tell the hotel, I can fill your rooms every day, only that for my app, you have to pay something. So you end up being co-owner of the hotel without owning the hotel. So basically, the old system is where you have the rigid infrastructure. The new system is so flexible, and that's why I think the informal sector really will enjoy this kind of system where you're having a possibility of being able to navigate through the market challenges. I know it's easy said than done because there's a lot of work for you to be able to realize this, and this we can hopefully get some more insights during the workshop that we are having today. And so mine will be to wish you all the best in this forum. And then, as Ivy pointed out, let's keep the conversation going on social media and let the insights that come out of this forum guide what we'll be doing to make our activities in the informal sector even more productive. So I say thank you very much. And at this juncture, I'd like to first introduce Veni. And Veni, you'll come and invite Stephanie. Yes. So Veni Swai is from the Friedrich Naumann Foundation. And there's a reason why I've had to do this very nice system. Otherwise, I would have invited Stephanie myself. But this is just very special that I should point out. When you have partners, in many cases, partnerships in this region rarely last over 3 years. Even for those who have NGOs, when you get a foundation or you get somebody to support your activity, 3 years it's gone and then they disappear and maybe come back after 5 years or 7 years, right? And here we have a very special partner of the Africa Resource Bank Forum, the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, that actually has been with this platform for the last 17 years.
Surprised because we didn't plan to do this way. So I'm not going to say anything. I would like to invite my colleague, Stephanie, to say something about our foundation and our work here. Karibu.
Thank you very much, James. Good morning again, and dear participants of this Africa Resource Bank Forum. I'm very happy to be here. As mentioned, I'm head of East Africa Office of Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom. We've been partnering for 17 years now, because I think also from the Friedrich Naumann Foundation's point of view, this is really special, because the partnership between IREN and the Friedrich Naumann Foundation has been long-lasting, and from my point of view, one of the most successful partnerships that we've got. So thank you for that. The Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom is an independent German organization. Independent meaning we are independent from government, although we receive funds from government. The Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom is a political foundation, and it's a quite unique model in Germany that only exists in Germany. We are a political foundation, meaning we are affiliated to a German political party, which is a member of parliament, the Free Democrats, which is a liberal party. We promote liberal policies and politics, and we especially focus on topics like the rule of law, democracy, also the rights of minorities, but also innovation, digitization, and issues of free trade and things like this. What we do is we do seminars, conferences, workshops like this one. We also do study tours, cultural events, and media campaigns. So it's a quite various different kinds of activities that we are doing. Our partners are not only liberal parties and liberal-minded people, but also think tanks, universities, maybe even entrepreneurs, startups, and innovators. So we're not only into politics at all. We've got over 60 offices worldwide, and in the Sub-Saharan Africa region we've been active since 1991. We've got offices in Western Africa, in Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire, and also in Southern Africa, in Zimbabwe and South Africa. In South Africa, that's where our regional office is located. So the regional office is coordinating our work in the Sub-Saharan Africa region. In East Africa, we've got our office in Tanzania, where my dear colleague Vinny is working. The topic of the Arab African Resource Bank Forum today is the future of Africa's informal industry in the era of digitization. As pointed out before, we are a political foundation, but we are not only doing politics. But from my point of view and from a liberal point of view, this topic today has been perfectly chosen. Because we liberals believe in trade and digitization. We liberals believe that technology and digitization can contribute to progress. Digitization has the potential for promoting individual progress and individual freedom. It can also promote innovation and economic value chain as well as social progress from a liberal perspective. We also believe that digitization is a means to fight corruption and fraud, promoting transparency and security process, for example by using blockchain technology. So we believe in the potential of digitization not only for Europe but also for Africa and your countries. So the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom promotes digitalization and new technologies in all our projects and activities worldwide and also in Africa. And I believe that the liberals are one of the front runners in regarding the use of digitization and innovation and taking it forward into the future. So I'm really excited to be here, part of this meeting, and I'm really excited to hear about your discussions, and I wish you all a fruitful event. Thank you very much.